What I love about early morning drives, you never know who else is going to be out enjoying the roads. That orange car was a roof RT12, a super rare thing. It's a 997 generation 911, so from the same era as my Challenge Stradale, but totally redeveloped by roof. It's got like 800 Newton meters of torque and 700 odd horsepower. It's totally mad. Amazing. Anyway, hello one and all, welcome to Seen Through Glass. Welcome to the beautiful Soesten Pass in Switzerland. I think the last time you saw me and this car, we were just outside Calais. I just collected this thing following its 7-month exterior and interior restoration. Well, since then, I drove 750 miles south to Monaco. Tony and I hosted this kind of exclusive, intimate cars and coffee style event with Swiss Quote Bank Europe. It was great fun. I then stayed overnight in Monaco, drove this thing around the F1 track, then drove over to Italy for a top secret event with Ferrari, which I can't talk to you about yet. And now I'm here in the Swiss Alps. And I have to say, I'm ecstatic to be here in the Swiss Alps. It is 6:30 in the morning. If you watch this channel regularly, you'll know I'm a huge fan of getting up early to enjoy the mountain roads. And apart from the roof RT12, there's no one else up here. So I think we've got to keep enjoying this car. About 2,000 miles in this car during this trip, and it's funny because it's been so long since I kind of drove it in anger. I feel like I'm having to be sort of relearning it. The first pass I did was in the hills above Monaco, and I tried to drive this car a bit like my GT3, and it didn't work out so well because as much as I love the Stradale, let's not forget it is 20 years old. So for example, the brakes, they are carbon ceramics, the same ones used on the Enzo, but they're not exactly 992 GT3 carbon ceramics. They don't have a lot of bite, so you still have to give yourself plenty of time when it comes to braking or scrubbing off speed. And when it comes to speed, yes, this engine is amazing and iconic, and the soundtrack is spectacular, but low down in the revs, not a lot happens. So if you're overtaking or coming out of a hairpin, you've got to make sure you're in the right gear, otherwise you do kind of bog down. And then speaking of gears, of course, there's this F1 gearbox. When I did the restoration reveal video, lots of you were asking, what about the manual swap? When are you going to do the manual swap? I've said it time and time again, I have no real plans to do a manual swap in this car. I quite like the F1 gearbox. I think it's part of the car's personality. But having not driven it for a while, I've kind of figured out, I've kind of forgotten how to get the most out of the F1 gearbox. I just don't feel like my shifts are as sharp as they can be. You kind of modulate the throttle a bit, and anyway. So it's been a learning experience, and I've been getting there, and now I'm here in the Swiss Alps. I am definitely a little bit more on top of the car than I was at the start of the trip, but it's still, yeah, it just takes time, because it's an old car. But who cares, because old cars are great. And I absolutely adore this thing. The emotion, just the feeling. I actually feel things through my bum. Of course, there are computers on board this car that does have some basic traction control and things like that, but it is all very rudimentary. So it still feels semi-analog, and I feel like I am sort of in control of the car. If we crash, it will be my fault, not because there were suddenly electronic glitches. Or maybe I should rephrase that. I have the potential to crash. In so many new cars, all the electronics don't even allow you to think about crashing. Now, the road is getting a little bit busier. I've caught up with some traffic here. It shows you just leave it an hour or so and suddenly tourist traffic does arrive. So if you want to get out here, enjoy some Swiss Alp passes, then you've got to get up with the birds like I did, because you leave it any later and suddenly in the summer the roads get busy. But let's see if we can find a moment. I'll pop a window. It's hard sometimes to find a clear stretch, but we'll we'll give it a go and then see if we can stretch this car's legs a bit. But yeah, it transports you to a different time, and I would argue a better time, at least for Ferrari, where you feel so much more connected to the experience. Here we go. It's just, I so want to be in one of these cars to hear me come past. I know that's like a weird thing to say, but you only get one sort of sense of the sound from being inside. Very slow moving Fiat Panda hybrid. Yes. It's just so good. And can we talk for a second about the fact that 2,000 miles after 7 months plus of not really being driven, and so far, rock solid. I love these cars. I adore these cars. Couldn't be happier in an automotive sense than right now. What a day. What a trip. What a car. I've pulled over for a second because, of course, 2,000 miles re-familiarising myself with the driving dynamics of this car also meant 2,000 miles getting used to this new specification. By the way, apologies for the raging river beside me. This is the Stein Glacier up here on the Soeston Pass. Obviously, being kind of the middle of the summer, most of it has melted away. There's a big sort of lake down there at the bottom, very popular camping site. It's a beautiful spot, but I cannot tell you how ecstatic I am with how this car has turned out. I mean, if you watch the reveal video, you probably think this colour looks so different now in the sunlight. That's why I couldn't wait to get it down to the south of France, now up here into the Alps, because it does change its hue, its saturation, its darkness level so much depending on the conditions. It really pops, and I absolutely adore it. The interior as well, so happy with, but our snagging list has grown. There's a number of things that Hilton and Moss are going to have to redo or put back together. Nothing to do with the actual paintwork. They've nailed the paintwork. It's just the refit process. I think probably because they haven't done many 360s in the past, they don't know exactly what to do. So for example, we've got a thing with the very tricky 360 window regulators that just mean both windows are slightly at a wonk, don't always line up perfectly. One thing which is a little bit of a frustration is they actually tried to polish out the glass on the headlights when they repainted them. They've been quite some stone chips, so they had to go at repolishing them, but I don't know if you can see, it's left some sort of swirly polish marks on the inside of the glass. I don't quite know how they're going to have to fix that, because it's insanely expensive. You actually can't replace the glass. You have to buy an entirely new unit, which comes primers, you have to repaint them. So it's going to be like $4,000. Yeah, so we'll have to figure that one out, but it doesn't look great. On top of that, there's a few other bits of trim that need to be done. The doors aren't quite aligned in the right way. The rear glass, again, wasn't put in the right position. An actual nut or nut and bolt fell out at some point on one of the bumpy roads around Monaco, so that's been flapping around, but it's perfectly safe. I tightened this one up, which actually, but that's moved again. Anyway, so all little things, everything that can be very easily fixed and corrected, and say just needs a little bit of guidance maybe from orders to AV engineering, and Hilton and Moss know that that's part of the program. They said, look, go and drive it and then bring it back. What it also has meant that over the 2,000 miles, everything's loosened up. If I had taken the car away and done 400 miles here, 500 miles there, it may have been 6 or 7 months before some of these things were identified. This way, they get the car back, can basically fix everything, and then bish bash bosh, the car is finally finished and ready to rock and roll. But yeah, every time I've walked away from it, or every time I've had to walk up to it, I'm like, oh my God, it really feels like my Stradale now. It truly does. And I'm so, so happy. send me messages saying that they're planning a road trip around Europe or specifically Switzerland, and which passes should they do, where should they go, any of them. This country is so outrageous, and if you just Google best Swiss passes to drive, you'll come up with about 4 or 5 of them, and they're all worth a go. They're all quite different. Some of them are tight and technical, some of them are big, open and flowing, and the scenery. That's what I just adore about this country. Is, I mean, there's a huge waterfall there. I'm never going to capture it now because I'm driving straight past it, so sorry, I just have to take my word for the fact that there's a big waterfall. But yeah, it is just really jaw-dropping. You can make a day of it as well. I actually met some guys at the hotel last night who are up here in a rental 911 Targa, and they were just like, yep, we're just doing all the passes. I was like, good on you. Today, in this car with this weather and the luck I've had with the traffic, Souston feels pretty good. Pretty good. It's a few hours later and you find me in the middle of nowhere, France. I've left Switzerland behind me and I'm crossing, I think, between 2 auto routes. Lots of trucks on this road, but it's a sort of single carriageway back road. Anyway, perfectly pretty and 36 degrees, so sweltering. I've seen a few comments asking what air conditioning is like in this car. Absolutely fine. Again, needs some tweaking by Hilton and Moss. I think something's got caught in the HVAC unit or fan. There's a little going on when the system's on full, but it's super effective. I do have to turn the fans up to maximum when it's this kind of temperatures, but it's not as bad as you might expect from an early 2000s Italian car. And actually, in general, it's such a good cruiser, this thing. It is noticeably, well, tinnier, firmer, and a bit rattlier than my 360 Modena, as you would expect, being lightweight, stripped out, and with sort of firmer, racier suspension. Like, you can notice that it's a bit more intense. And I mentioned it before last year when the car was in its original spec. These are the medium carbon bucket seats. In my Modena, I had the largest, which made a world of difference. I dream of finding some largest for sale in the used market, but they never come up because very few people spec them. And when they do come up for sale, they're insanely expensive. So these are fine, but for these long distance drives, the largest were always a tiny bit better. But anyway, I've been trying to think, like, where next, what next with this car? Because so once these fun little snagging list bits have been sorted out, we will be good to rock and roll and go. And a bit like with the Modena towards the end of its life with me, this is the start of my adventures with the Stradale, but I want to use it for the big adventures. This was a great excuse to kind of get it out and get it back out and enjoy it in its new spec. But in the future, I want to do things like when I took my Modena to Morocco or to Tenerife, plan some proper adventures. Would I go and do Mille Miglia in it again, like I did with my Modena? I'm not sure. Maybe Targa Florio. So let me know. Have some thoughts below. What big, iconic missions, adventures, road trips should I do? Should I take it to the Transfer Garrison, Top Gear's greatest driving road in the world? Things like that. It needs to be used for those epic journeys. So yeah, I've just been brainstorming that whilst listening to some podcasts. Got 4 or 5 hours to go till Calais. So yeah, we're on our way. And 42,225 miles on the clock so far. So we've got plenty of space to add lots more miles to this thing. So yeah, get creative, let me know, and I'll crack on through France.